Exactly.
Oh, that is lovely. You see, I should know this. You should know.
Hello. I can just see we've started a bit early. I don't know how that
sorry.
happened.
Sorry.
That's okay. Somehow it's pressed go a little earlier than expected. But that's okay. Anyone that was waiting nicely has been let in a bit early. So hello, everyone. I can see people ticking in. I just need to find where Carlos is. I was about to send him a message to find him. So just bear with us. And Naz currently hasn't got any audio at the moment. So everyone can just see our behind the scenes. But you're having a nice conversation anyway.
No, and I'm supposed to meet Tibby for lunch. Oh, we've been trying to arrange this for ages.
I have, so many also like quite a bit of teaching and conferences. So I am teaching for this year in Bangkok for United Nations regional program,
Wow.
environmental law. Yeah.
I'm just gonna send.
No, I should get in touch with you, Malgosia.
Hi everyone joining. Don't worry that we're just having a quick chat. We opened it up a little early accidentally. So we're just trying to get everyone in, and then we'll be good and ready to go in just a moment.
So how are we going to organize it? Like we introduce ourselves and
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't worry. We'll get started in a minute. Naz is just getting herself on. I'm just working out where Carlos is. I've just sent him the link so you can
Are
get.
the participants already on board?
Yes, they're here because we somehow opened it up slightly early. So I can see a group already. So hello everyone. Just bear with us just before we get started.
Apologies for my cough as well.
Oh,
It's the weather. It's the weather. I just have a dry cough.
oh, did you see a doctor?
Malgosia, really?
I don't know.
My practice will go. You want to see a GP for a cough?
I know. Well, I don't know. I am. Yeah, I was a bit like you, but then, at some point I was coughing and coughing, but I wasn't dry cough. It was pneumonia, unfortunately.
Oh no.
Oh Malgosia, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So
Now you're making me worried.
Hi, Charlotte. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah, we can hear you now, Naz.
I don't know. My camera is not working. It was working on Zoom. Sorry, on Teams.
Oh, how strange.
But-
Has it got has the cover thing gone across the top if you're on a laptop? So it looks like
I'm on a
gone.
laptop, but
Have you got one of those slidey things on the camera on the top? Sometimes we don't even realize we have them, and they're like a little switch on the top of your laptop.
because
If
Teams
not,
is working
don't worry.
fine. Teams was I had meetings in the morning. Teams is working fine, but not Zoom. To be honest, I don't really use Zoom that much.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So don't worry. Okay.
At least I can hear you. I couldn't hear you before. So.
Yeah, we can hear you, and that's the
That's
most
fine.
important thing.
Yeah.
So let's get started, and then we'll try and get Carlos in because I think he's having trouble. I have sent him the links, so let's get started.
Okay.
Without further ado, seeing as we have people sitting here with us.
Yeah, exactly.
So we don't want to keep everyone waiting. So we'll start off by saying hello to everyone and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I can recognize some names on the list, which is nice. So my name is Charlotte Burton. If you haven't met me before, I'm the marketing manager for the School of Law, and I provide these opportunities for you to find out a bit more as prospective students about studying, particularly today, postgraduate law at Queen Mary. And this is an opportunity for you to have access to some of my brilliant colleagues who will be able to help with questions for you today. So please feel free to ask as many questions as you'd like, and we will do our best to get through them all. We have an hour up until 1 p.m. UK time. If we don't manage to get through all the questions, I will leave the inquiries email in the chat for you, so you can use that and get in touch with my team if you have any questions, and we'll do our best to get in touch with you as quickly as we can. Here is Carlos coming in. We'll just bear with him a moment, and then we're all here, which is great.
Yeah.
There's always tech stuff that always happens. Hi, Carlos. We can't hear or see you, but I can. You're on screen, so that's great.
All right, let me turn on my video. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can see you now.
Hi.
Lovely. Hello. Sorry, I was just saying that we've had a few tech problems, but I was just starting the webinar to welcome everyone. So great that you're here. Carlos, if you wouldn't mind, do you mind if we mute you because we're getting a bit of background noise?
Yeah, it's quite noisy here. Sorry.
Okay. So when you speak, feel free to unmute and then we'll go from there.
Awesome. Let me mute myself.
Perfect. Okay, so before we start, the session today, as I said, is an opportunity for you to ask questions. Please feel free to use the Q&A function we have here on Zoom, and we will answer either live or questions as they come in. We might type some answers too. My colleague Naz and I, who you can't see because their camera's having some issues with,
Sorry about that.
to field the questions to our academics, but also answer as much as we can. So I will be here for another kind of 10 minutes and I'm going to pass over to Naz, but I'll lurk in the background and help with any Q&A if we need to. So without further ado, let's get introductions done by the important people that are here. Malgosia, you're first on my screen, so would you like to introduce yourself to everyone?
Yes, of course. Thank you very much, Charlotte. Well, I am very happy to be here, and I am going to introduce my modules which I teach in Queen Mary, so public international law, but also international environmental law. And these two areas of international law are very close to my heart. And international environmental law, as we all know, is of utmost importance in the world. It's not only climate change, which is very, very topical and very important, but also protection of species and protection of marine environment, plastic. It's all very important, of significance, importance for everybody. So I have a module on international environmental law, where all the principles underlying environmental law are taught, and with absolutely brilliant guest speakers who come from all over the world and share their immense knowledge. Public international law, my area is law of treaties, which may sound very dry and boring, but it's far from that. All international lawyers who want to make career in international law, the first port of call is the law of treaties. Again, we do a lot of practice. We have, again, very brilliant guest speakers who make both of my modules very worthwhile, very personal, and very interesting. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Uma, over to you.
Oh, hello. My name is Uma Suthersanen, and I'm a professor in global intellectual property law. I used to be, for my sins, the director of the LLM in intellectual property law, both for the London and Paris programs about 8 years ago, and until last year, I was the director of Queen Mary IP Research Institute. So from all that, you can gather that my specialty is intellectual property. I'm very happy here to field your queries because I know the LLM and IP has about 30, 35 modules. So if you look at it, the core intellectual property models are about 20 to 25. And they vary between the what I would say macro IP courses, which deal with US, EU, or international, or my course, which is global intellectual property law, right down to very discrete 15 credit, very focused modules like fashion law or music industry contracts, and or computer software. And the way, and I'm hoping to guide you through, if you have queries, how you choose and mix these courses. And I'm assuming that most of you who want to do the LLM and IP are IP courses. But for those who are wondering what is IP, I just end with what I think is the most romantic definition I've ever come across by the late Professor Bill Cornish, who really kickstarted this study in the 1980s in UK. And he said, IP is that noble species of law that protects the finer manifestations of human creativity.
Lovely, thank you. And last but not least, Carlos, can you introduce yourself to everyone?
On mute. Yeah, sorry. First of all, I'm sorry because it's quite noisy here. I'm very close to the university, by the way, CCLS. Well, my name is Carlos Bellorin. I teach a module called International and Comparative Petroleum Law and Policy and Contracts in the Energy Transition. Probably the longest title for any module in this part of the world, which is part of the LLM in Energy and Climate Change. My module consists in having a look from a comparative way of the different and most important widely used post-government contracts, the contract you use in order to allow companies to exploit natural resources, specifically oil and gas, right? These are concessions, production sharing agreements, and service agreements. My module is taught in a comparative way again, and we use case studies from Latin America, Africa, Middle East. We use Venezuela, Ecuador, Colombia, Brazil, Iraq, Angola, China, and anything that is topical, right? Um, my module also cover. We will see the dynamic. The first lesson is about the ownership of natural resources and how it's treated in different countries. We will see that the United States is a different animal compared to the rest of the world. We will revise actual contracts around the world. We will be tasked to see the contract and discuss it and to go into the provisions not only of the contract itself, but the laws and regulations applicable to it. We will see also, we will revise and discuss about the relationship, the dynamics between host governments and companies, and how it has developed historically. Sorry, it's very noisy here. I don't know if you can hear me. Um, we will discuss also about arbitration, investment arbitration. The oil and gas industry has been a major source of investment arbitration cases, and we will be looking at the most important ones and why and how has they have been decided and why the dispute arose. Um, we will see also how these contracts are awarded, the fiscal regimes, which is very important. As a lawyer, we will have to see a bit of numbers and understand what is a royalty, income taxes, and special petroleum taxes in order to see if the most important thing here in this relationship is who gets what, right? And that has changed the course of many countries, the revision and the changes in the fiscal terms. We will see, we'll have also at least three guest lectures from people from the industry, from companies like such as Shell, BP, Cosmos, NGOs like the Natural Resources Governance Institute, and any other friend that I can find that can come to the CCLS to talk about some topical issues. I'd like to teach this in the current situation, right? So anything that is on the press that is being discussed at the moment, like the issue. I don't know if you see something that was in the press worldwide, the intention of Chevron to acquire Hess, and and Exxon opposing to it, and uh, according to the provisions of the joint operating agreement, we will be talking about the joint operating agreement, and one of the uh, most important and relevant experts on JOAs in the world will be with us. He's a good friend of mine, so he has been a guest lecturer in our class for 8 years. So I'm expecting him to return in exchange of some beers afterwards. Um, but yeah, that's my class, and I'm a practitioner. I'm not an academic. I've been teaching for this model for 11 years already, and I teach a similar module in Sciences Po in Paris that I've also been a while with, 12 years. I advise. I work in the industry in Venezuela. As if you can tell an accent, it's because I'm not British. Venezuela. Um, I've been living here for 20 years, and I came here to do my LLM and to Scotland, then stayed. But I spent 15 years in the industry, and then I've been advising companies and governments in many issues relating to oil and gas. This module is not only about it's not CO2 intensive, is also taught in the context of the energy transition. We will also touch the um, on some specifically two things: CCUS, carbon capture, storage and utilization storage, and electrification of facilities and oil and gas facilities in order to reduce the CO2 emissions from oil and gas operations, which is extremely topical and very important right now. So that's my module, and yeah, I hope to see you there.
Thank you, Carlos. It sounds like people are having a great time where you are as well in the background. Okay, so we've got some questions that have started to come in. So we'll just start kind of fielding them out to you guys, and there will be more that comes in as we go along. There always is. So, and we'll try and keep them generic as we can. So someone has asked about a particular course and they're not sure what modules to choose. So perhaps if there's any guidance on module selection that you would say to students who are starting in September. Who wants to take that one?
Well, I could start because when I had to field these questions as LLM director, and also dissertation supervisor for topics, I would say try to go for something that will fascinate you, that you will enjoy. I think most of us, but I'm speaking for myself, so I cannot speak for my colleagues. Most of us, faculty members, are really quite happy to field queries as to what the course entails. But I have found in the past, both for myself, because by the way, I did this LLM, but it used to be an intercollegiate University of London LLM. And honestly, you get the best marks for things you really enjoy. And I know I shouldn't be, I mean, there are lots of topics which are very important. I mean, commercial and corporate has got so many courses. I think you need to ask yourself as well, what sort of area will I go into? This is not a guarantee that you'll end up there. I know a very schizophrenic student of mine who came from a tax background and wanted to do tax courses, but was fascinated with copyright and IP at the same time. So he split his modules, which for me is quite schizophrenic to do tax and IP. But in the end, you know, there is a pathway on this, and you can do something which you are coming from a jurisdiction. I'm originally from Singapore, and I know when I was doing my LLM, a lot of Singaporeans came doing shipping because that's very important in your own jurisdiction. But you will find yourself also looking at something that you're going to enjoy, something like human rights, for example, where you're not going to perhaps go into human rights chamber or human rights law firm, but it sort of balances you out in terms of excitement. So, and we're all here to give advice, honestly. So the best thing you can do is look at the 100 plus modules, narrow it down to 20, leave it alone, and then in the weekend, look at it, try and narrow it down. Once you get that group of 10 and you cannot, get to it, reach out.
Lovely, thank you. Malgosia, I feel like you've got something to add.
Yes, I would like to absolutely agree with Uma, and maybe also add that sometimes the LLM studies also are a very good platform to broaden your horizons and to add something new to what already you know. So I think that sort of even doing something which you haven't done before, but you feel that it really may be interesting for you, I think it's a very good opportunity to spend this 1 year sort of going deeper in the areas which were not so well known, broaden your horizons, broaden your knowledge, and also do something else, of course, interesting for you, which you would like to use maybe later in your career.
Lovely, thank you. And there's always lots of questions about modules and module selection. I think it's worth mentioning that when you start with us in September, we have a full induction program where you'll get the opportunity to explore the modules and make those choices. So you are guided through it, and academics are available to answer questions on it as well. So, and Malgosia, I think this is maybe one for you. Someone said, are there any modules that you would recommend for pursuing a career in conflict management, or working in public international law? Or you're still on mute.
Public international law offers quite a lot of cluster of modules. So as I said, I do classical international law, the law of treaties, but we also have international humanitarian law, use of force, lots of human rights modules. So it's a really big choice to think about. I think that law of treaties gives a very good introduction to international law as such, because as it is conceived, it's not only law of treaties, but it gives also the opening the gate of what is international law as such, and giving all examples from practice. Obviously, use of force and international humanitarian / criminal law, it's incredibly topical now. It's developing. It's Professor Okoła who is teaching this, and I'm sure she will be very happy to answer any questions in email to engage into debate. So we have also modules on like problems in international environmental law, which deal with dispute resolution. And it's Tom McManus, my colleague, who is teaching this, and he is very personable, and he will be very happy to delve into it. But still, I would like to add that as far as environmental law is concerned, we also have specialist modules on climate change, law of the sea, and if you are interested in conflict resolution, law of the sea is a very good area where all the jurisdictions of states, coastal states, law of the sea, human high seas, it all comes together. So it's a lot to choose if you are interested in international law in practice and how it works.
Lovely. I'm going to pass to Naz now because I'm going to step off. So Naz, over to you. I'll be here in the background for a little bit, just in case you need me. Is Naz able to unmute?
Oh, sorry. Yes,
There we
thank
go.
you. Yeah, thanks. So I think the next question is regarding the IP law. The student would like to know whether they should go for the dissertation or not, and if you can provide some guidance on how might they be able to make this decision, the benefits and challenges of choosing a dissertation. Also determining if it aligns with the academic goals and professional goals. So maybe Uma, you can help them make this decision. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. First of all the students for the LLM will have special dissertation seminars or lectures, depending on your specialization, etc. These are general classes held in the lecture theatre telling you about dissertations, etc. But it's good if you really want to do a dissertation to think about it right now. The most difficult thing is the topic. And again, you do need to hone in on something that you are passionate about. Now, what does the dissertation entail? You are guided. You do have supervision, but you have to know that you need to do your own reading. You need to come up with solutions. Dissertations, I mean, some of my best dissertations I've had in the past are students who have been really interested in their jurisdiction as to how intellectual property is dealing with a particular situation. So in terms of dissertation, you do not do a broad subject, you narrow it down. For example, you might want to do TikToks. That's what one student did about 3 years ago. And whether, there were IP rights being infringed in those 2 or 3 minute TikTok segments. And that was because the student was from China and it was a particular problem at that time with some decisions, conflicting decisions. So that is a good start. You might want to do something which is social legal about human rights and intellectual property, and you narrow it down, for example, to the COVID situation, vaccines, and there was an absolute global reaction to it about waiving international law, basically waiving the WTO TRIPS agreement in order to annul patents, IP rights, and to make vaccines available to the global south. And that you may be passionate about that because perhaps you're doing medical law and you're doing also public international law. So that's what entailed. The number 2 is you do need to read a lot, of course. Number 3 is if you look at all the faculty profiles, and if you have a particular topic, start talking to the faculty members. Again, most of us will say, no, we're not going to talk to you until you come up with some topic. What happens is usually a student will have 2 or 3 topics, which can be quite divergent. Oh, I like to do AI, but I think I really like fashion and textiles. But and fashion, by the way, is quite popular partly because of sustainability and green fashion, etc. Or you could say I want to do a very black letter topic, like copyright law, and okay, what's popular? Copyright law and music infringement across the board. So come down again to what interests you in terms of, is it important? Does it help? I think what students do say when they finally finished it, and it's a lot of work, you are doing more work than other students, but I think the chance of getting a distinction or a high merit is also more likely because you're doing so much work on it. What students say is at the end of the journey, they thought it was worthwhile. They really did. It teaches you how to argue. It teaches you how to reason. It teaches you how to do research, which are all skills you need when you go to a law firm or if you go to academia. Most important of all, it does teach you critical analysis, which is a skill you need when you do your other essays. You need it when you do your assessments or your exams. And critical analysis, I've found, is something that students find challenging. I know my students get annoyed when I say, yes, I know you did this and you did that and you said everything the books did, but where's the critical analysis? And it's really hard to teach a student what critical analysis is. And doing a dissertation will actually make you a better arguer, if that makes sense. But in terms of topics, just Google intellectual property in a newspaper. Yeah, something, and not something like the Daily Mail or the Sun in UK, something like the broadsheet newspaper in your jurisdiction, or the Financial Times. The Financial Times actually has a whole IP column in its legal section, or the Times. And you will see in the last year what the top issues are in IP, or the Economist, or the New York Times, etc. I hope that answered it.
Thank you, Uma. I think the next question is regarding if a student would need to do any preparation before they begin next month. I think maybe Carlos, you can, all of you can take turns, and we can begin with Carlos perhaps to see if there's any preparation you recommend for your students. Carlos, you're still on mute.
Sorry,
Yeah.
preparation in terms of readings and stuff, right?
Yes. Anything you recommend for your students for your program?
For my program, yeah. Well, there are. I can send you the syllabus of my module, and the reading list that I recommend. There are many things that you start in, depending on how in depth you want to go. And the good thing about my modules and all the modules in our LLM, and I'm sure you know the LLMs, is that it's designed for um, uh, anyone with or without experience in the topic. But yeah, read whatever is in the syllabus. And again, if you're interested, there are many good papers that I will be recommending. But drop me a line. I sent to all the participants my email. Feel free to drop me a line and elaborate more on your questions. I can help you out with that.
Thank you, Carlos. Uma, would you like to add anything for the IP students?
This is in relation to...
Yeah, I just saw a question for me on a chat, and I would like to say that I am co-director of Center for International and Environmental Law. So thank you very much for bringing it to our attention. And we are very welcoming, and actually we would love to have as many students involved in the work of the center. So maybe I will actually say a few words. We have a Center for International and European Law, which is
Sorry, Carlos, could you mute yourself? It's really loud.
Yes, sorry.
Thanks.
Which is very active, and we have very many events. So to give you the example, we have every year an annual lecture, and this year the guest speaker for annual lecture will be Dr. Konrad Marciniak, who is judge of the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea in Hamburg. So he is a practitioner, but also an academic, and he has been for many years the legal advisor to the Polish Foreign Ministry. Well, I come from Poland, so I try always to bring also my colleagues. We will have many events like book launches, and also our guest speaker. It's all under the chapeau of the Center of International and Environmental Law. I also would like to add that my interest in environmental law is also from, so to speak, practical point of view, because I am at the moment involved in advising Marshall Islands for advisory opinion on climate change before the International Court of Justice, as well as I be teaching in regional seminar in Bangkok this December for United Nations educational program on environmental law. So my interest in environmental law is not only purely theoretical, but I also advise on environmental law, like in this case, Marshall Islands for the International Court of Justice. So yes, we are very active and we really welcome all participation.
Thank you. Sorry, Uma, would you like to add anything for the IP student who would like to know if there's any prep that he needs to do before he starts your program next month?
Yeah, I've replied to about 3 IP questions. So if they look at the answer Q&A, and I'm right now typing where they can. The problem is, guys and girls, is I can recommend things, but I have no idea whether you have access to it or not. So if I put a book down there, can I assume that you all have some sort of educational access to it from your law firm or from, you know, whatever institution you're based at? So I'm trying to put or link you to open access material for the point. But if I have a sense that you'll have very good access to books, I'll put a book as well, or email me. I don't know, Nazish, do they have our emails?
At the moment they don't, but you can type them in to the chat and then they can email you if they require any further information regarding any reading prep.
Yeah. So have a look at the answer for the IP, folks. There is stuff that links there.
Thank you, Uma.
Sure.
The next question is from a banking and finance lawyer from Clifford Chance. He would like to know if there's any particular modules which would be best aligned with his focus on, in particularly, you know, taking consideration environmental law as part of his studies to complement his interest. Who would like to answer that one?
So,
I can give it a go. It's
Yes, please. Thank you.
It's a question for Cida from Brazil, right?
Yes.
It Brazil? Yeah. I think either environmental law or the LLM in energy and climate change will suit your interest, Cida. Again, it depends. As you know, you are a practitioner. Energy law entails a lot of things, and the good thing is that you can take the mandatory courses on each of the LLMs I'm mentioning, and then choose between all the courses in order to have a complement your interest, but depend on what you're looking for, if it's either the oil and gas industry, upstream, downstream, or mining, or it depends on your interest. But I think between the LLM in environmental law and the LLM in energy and climate change, and they will suit your interests. Yeah, they're really, really good.
Thank you, Carlos. The next question is, how does the curriculum provide exposure to students who are inclined towards the United Nations and the bureaucracy? Who would like to answer that one? Oh,
Maybe I can have a go at it.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Well, it's a very good question and requiring quite a lot of, I think, debate. But I can say that maybe of help will be that one of the guest speakers in my both modules, Law of Treaties and Environmental Law, Professor Olufemi Elias, was actually an Assistant Secretary General of United Nations. So I think that he will be more than happy to give some insight into United Nations and bureaucracy. He was also involved in organization against chemical weapons. So we will have quite a lot of possibilities with guest speakers to answer this question and it's very, very useful to engage into debate with people who actually were involved into the United Nations personally and the bureaucracy as such of that.
Thank you.
I would just add that just from an IP angle, the thing, IP is a very odd organization within the United Nations because it's a special UN organization, and there are other specialized UN organizations. And I worked with WIPO before, with them this year, and from what I gather, to get into the IP part of the UN, you go through your national organizations, your countries, as IP lawyers. So yeah, and maybe that's why it's so specialized.
Thank you, Uma. What advice would you give to students that are moving internationally to study with us? Maybe you can take it in turns to answer this one. Carlos, shall we begin with you? Any advice you'd like to give to students who are moving internationally to study with us?
Yeah, well, you got to move to one of the most important, most interesting cities in the world. You will be making relationship and friendships that will last forever. It will serve you not only to have support and in terms of friendship itself, but you will see that at some point you will cross path again in your professional life. I'll say get involved in all the university dance and everything the university organized for students, which is the list is massive. Um, Enjoy the university life, which is very rich. And if you come either to either of the campus in the Mile End or the CCLS, from a personal point of view, explore the city and visit the museums and enjoy the food and the people. I mean, London is something else. I think despite of the fact that the Queen Mary University has the finest and most important school of law in the country, one factor that will be also attractive for us or for our students is that it's located in the heart of London. Um, get involved in events, and you will see that either inside the university or outside the university, you will have a vast array of events taking place in London at any time. I mean events related to the modules or the LLM you want to take. You will see free events for students about energy, about IP, climate change, environment. So take advantage of that. I mean, go out and enjoy the city, enjoy the university life. But yeah, this is London. This is London. So
Thank you, Carlos. Uma, would you like to add anything? Any advice to students who are moving internationally to study with us?
Well, I moved internationally to study the LLM, and then I ended up staying here. So it was obviously a good move for me. I think I was lucky. A lot of students I know prefer to do essays, but when I did it, it was basically 4 exams for 4 subjects, and they all occurred in summer. And that meant that we could play basically from October to April, and then we panicked and started studying. I agree with Carlos. It is a spectacular program because of the amount of people you meet. first of all, your peers from different universities across the world. And I think at CCLS, we are very friendly faculty, and, we are very happy to talk to the students about a lot of things, not just academic. But I would advise coming here that one of the first things you do, especially if you're doing subjects which have essays, which are due after the first, second, and third semesters, you do your own internal timetable. I think that's the thing that tends to mar students. As Carlos says, there is so much to do in Singapore. There's so many people, in London, that compared to where I came from, London was like a million times more exciting. There are so many people to meet. There are a lot of subjects as well that you'll be dealing with, because it's not like an undergraduate program. If you've done a postgraduate program before, you'll know that there is a lot of width as well as depth in the amount of reading you're going to get. You should timetable yourself, really. And timetable holidays. I think I get really sad when I hear students who go, oh, I can't, when you have a Christmas break, you have the Easter break, and it's a bit sad when students says, I can't, I've got all these deadlines and all these essays. You need to take that Eurostar to Paris. You need to go up to Scotland. So timetable yourself so you enjoy everything. That's it.
Thank you, Uma. Would you like to add anything, Malgosia?
Yes, I would like to say that I agree, with Uma, but it's a very, I think, rewarding adventure to come to a different country for LLM, because not only you deepen your professional knowledge, but you meet so many other people from all these countries with different cultures. You actually form lasting friendships, which I have seen. And even that we teachers also form lasting friendships with participants. And I think this is what I would like to stress, that this is an eye-opening event, eye-opening adventure. You lose comfort of your own surroundings, but you sail into a completely new world. You learn a lot, and it's really quite a big step in your life, which only brings good things. But obviously, it's quite a lot of studying, and yes, I agree, you should time yourself. But this becomes very very obvious after first 3 weeks of studying. How can you best time your efforts? How do you read? How do you prepare? And we are always open to discuss. For instance, my students are examined only on the basis of essays, so there is a lot of time to discuss it. The essay topics are known, and there is quite a bit of help in approaching how you write. So I think it's a very rewarding experience to come abroad to study for a year.
Oh, can I just add to that essay point? That if you hear during your inductions about access to critical legal writing, I really encourage everyone to go for them if you can, but especially those who are doing dissertations. I think a lot of students think it's about English. It's not. It's a really good course that really tells you what to do with the 101 articles you've read, and how you get, analysis out, and how you structure your essay. Because a lot of students I've come across have not done so much critical legal writing in the undergraduate. From some, especially common law jurisdictions, we tend to do problem questions. So there, as Malgosia said, there's lots of courses there and people who actually teach you how to write, legal writing. And that's going to be very useful as well for writing briefs later on in life.
Thank you, Emma. That was a good point. The next question is from Karandeep Singh. He's saying he's going to be pursuing a degree in the general LLM with a particular interest in the commercial litigation, international arbitration, intellectual property, and data protection. So based on these interests, can you recommend which modules in the LLM program would align with his focus? Which one of you would you like to take that one?
I can give it a go.
Yeah,
The
thank you,
list
Carlos.
is vast. I'll recommend if you do a general LLM, and the CCLS is well known for the army of professors dedicated to commercial and investment arbitration. You will have the best of the best practitioners there teaching in our programs. So go to the webpage and have a look at the programs, the descriptions, and who teaches them. That's the best advice I can give you. But you will have, Lucas Mistelli, you will have Nora Gallagher, Maxi Scherer. I mean, you have an all-star. If you're looking into commercial an international investment arbitration, you have an all-star. In IP as well, environmental law and energy law, you will have also a list of all-stars. I mean, have a look, and you will see that the quality of the lecturers that teach in our programs.
Thank you, Carlos. The next question is, when will they be allowed to choose their modules?
You have to ask the LLM office, Najib. Do you know, Malgosia, when the cutoff date is? Because I don't. They keep changing every year.
I think you're on mute, sorry.
Basically, guys, this is the sort of bureaucratic question that academics aren't very clear about. I really can't answer that,
Yeah,
because it is something that we've been discussing, and I'm quite sure they changed that date.
yeah. So the date of the actual module deadline changes every year. So once you've completed your registration with us, you'll be getting a student pack in which you'll have information regarding where to select your modules, how to select your modules, and the deadline to select your modules. You'll be given an induction period of, I believe, 2 weeks. At the end of 2 weeks, you will be able to select your modules. But all that information will be given to you after you've completed your registration with us. So you just have to do that first, and then you will get that information.
I have to also just add, Nazish, that the fact is, sometimes you won't be able to do what you want to do because there will be a timetable clash. And you can imagine how hard it is to timetable 100-odd modules. So you may find yourselves, I think there was one student who wanted to do arbitration, litigation, IP, etc. You may find that your module selection may decrease because of the clash of timing. That's it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So the things that you may need to consider before making your module selections is obviously looking at the timetable, the whole timetable for all the modules, also the location of the modules. So obviously you have to bear in mind, travel time, because different modules will be taught in different buildings, in different campuses. So the travel time will have to be taken into consideration as well. All of this will be discussed in a bit more depth during the induction period, but these are just the main points that I would suggest to bear in mind before making your selections. So don't choose modules which are back-to-back, being taught in different campuses, like one is being taught in Lincoln's Inn Field, the other one is being taught in Marland, because you won't have enough time to travel between modules and you will obviously, miss out on the beginning of the module. So just bear that in mind before making your selections as well. But we will discuss that in depth during the induction period, so don't worry.
But I would say really go through all the modules and have a sense, narrow it down to at least like 10 or 8 or less, so that you don't have too much of a choice in those first 2 weeks. Sorry, Nazish.
Yeah, no, of course, no. Yeah, so you already have access to the module descriptions on the website. So I would suggest, go through all the modules that you're interested in, narrow it down, like Uma said. So then you can focus on these modules and attend the introductions to these modules during those 2 weeks of introductions, and then you'll have a better idea which ones you would like to actually select for the academic year ahead.
Yeah, and I should also say that once you're registered, you are entered into, the Queen Mary, the local area network, the learning area, where everyone has, all the modules are opened up. So everyone has access to all modules, and you'll be able to see exactly what the modules are about because you will see the module page, basically.
Exactly. So what Uma is talking about over here is the QM Plus. So once you're registered with us, you'll be given your QM login details, and through that you'll be able to access all the programs that are running this year and all the modules which are running this year, including the syllabus for individual modules. So you can have a look at that as well in order to help you select your modules. The next question is, what kind of opportunities do you believe students can gain concerning public international law, and how to look out for these opportunities?
I will answer this question.
Thank you.
So yes, obviously. So I think that these days there are quite a lot of opportunities after studying public international law, and I include in this environmental law. So let's start with opportunities in practice. All big law firms now have big departments dealing with PIL and also environmental law. So if you are inclined to go into practice, there is no problem to get into a law firm which deals with PIL. Also, lots of mostly the biggest barristers' chambers have huge departments on public international law, and by this I mean really public international law in all areas, appearing before the courts, national courts which deal with PIL, also international courts which are plenty, International Court of Justice, International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea, arbitrations of various types in public international law, human rights courts, it's all public international law. Obviously, there is the whole area of academic research in PIL, which is thriving. Lots of people study this, and lots of also people do PhD degrees in public international law. It also opens up work in state administration, in ministries, not only foreign ministry, but for instance, Ministry of Environment, where lots of my colleagues negotiate environmental treaties, which is public international law, international organizations which deal with environmental law, all multilateral environmental agreements like the Convention on Trade in Endangered Species have lots of bodies such as secretariats. They employ public international lawyers. Also, there are lots of internships in the area of public international law. So this gives you a taste whether you, what is it all about, and whether you like it or not. So yes, there are lots of possibilities. Of course, United Nations, organizations. In London, there is International Maritime Organization, which has 160 states as members. They are very student friendly, so they also have internships. So yes, there are lots of opportunities in PIL.
Thank you. The next question is, can we also study courses from different master's program? So I think I can answer this one, unless Carlos, would you like to say something first?
No. You're better suited to answer it, but the answer is yes.
Yes, yeah, exactly. The answer is yes. So the total number of credits that you have to select for your chosen program is 180 credits. Each module is split either in 15 credits or 30 credits. So you can select some modules from outside of your program. You are given a free choice to do that, as long as majority of your credits are within your chosen program. The next question is, can IP students do internships during their course?
Well, I don't think you're allowed to do internships during the LLM. It is also heavily dependent, I suspect, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nazish, on your visa status.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
What you come into UK to do. And I think I know European students, of course, in the past, have been interns in firms, but you have to basically, I'll say you have to be very clear that it's not going to interfere with the course. However, you're not offered internships during it. If you're asking whether or not there are IP internships after the course, well, first of all, during the course, there is something called QM Plus. QM Legal. Q Legal. And it's that time of day. It's Q Legal, which is a sort of, it's an actual module, and it's very, very popular. Basically, you have to enroll the minute you get registered, and it's sort of live advising, and it's very much to do with IP and IT law for startup businesses, where students get to meet real clients, actual clients. There is, of course, academic advisors, and you write legal advice for these startup businesses. And that's the closest we come to, meeting the practical side. There are, of course, we have an amazing careers team, and every single internship offered in all the law firms, not just IP, in every area is circulated by our careers team. They are really good. They help you write CVs. They also give advice on how to construct your LinkedIn pages, etc. And that's for all the LLM registered students in relation to that. There are lots of IP internships. I should be practical here and say the competition for IP internship is incredibly high. It's very, very high. Every year, I think one senior partner did tell me that for every one internship offered, they do get something like 50 to 80 applicants. So sometimes it's worth waiting until you actually get your LLM degree to do to even apply for many pupilages and many internships in IP. But there's lots of opportunities. And also don't forget, it's not just law firms you're talking about. For intellectual property, there are lots of things also going on in the film industry, the recording industry, the fashion industry, all the different industries all have large IP firms, and especially the tech industries and software industries. So you shouldn't just be targeting law firms and chambers. You should be looking across the IP industries as well.
Thank you, Uma. It's 1 o'clock now, so we're coming to the end of a session, but we have 2 more questions that we can quickly answer. The first one is, are we able to extend and choose
Let's see what
more than 180 credits? The answer to that question is no. The maximum credits that you can choose is 180. So you do have to split your modules and make sure you have the maximum number of credits, 180. You are able to have a free choice of modules, like I said before, and choose some modules which are outside of your program, as long as majority are within your program in order to qualify for that program. But you cannot choose more than 180 credits. And the last question is, are we unable to get any practical experience while we're doing our LLM? I think Uma's already answered this question by saying that it all depends on your visa, what you permit to do.
Yeah, that is a very big question. Number two, there is Q Legal, but Q Legal is oversubscribed. So, the minute you register, if you want that sort of practical advice, you put Q Legal down as a module. I think it's 15 credits, but I'm not sure how many credits it is. Number three, I really want to emphasize you shouldn't underestimate the amount of reading required for the LLM program if you want a distinction. If you want the fastest way to get an internship or in any firm is to have a good overall grade, like distinction or high merit for the LLM as a whole. My experiences with the type of law firms and barristers chambers I work for, I work with Hogarth Chambers because we do the main copyright treaties in the UK with them. And, Gwilym and Nick Caddick, who's a KC, they look at the final grade. They don't even look at things like modules, etc. And I've known them to take history students or politics students for internships because what they're looking at is analytical skills. And if you get a first in politics with amazing references, they are willing to send you off to retrain in a postgraduate course. So I would say concentrate on the LLM. That's what you're paying a lot of money for. It's really worth putting your heart and mind into getting a super grade because it is the fastest way to get a job.
Thank you, Uma.
Yeah.
So this brings us to the end of our session today. Thank you everyone who was able to join us. If you do think of any more questions, please feel free to email us at pglaw-inquiries@qmul.ac.uk. Thank you, Uma. Would you like to say anything?
No, just good luck. And honestly, it's a great journey. Try to be positive. You'll have fun.
Yeah. We look forward to seeing everyone here in London. So thank you very much and have a nice day. Thank you. Bye.